My name is Ethan Maris. I'm 36. I work in civil infrastructure. No criminal history, no police record, nothing unusual in my background. Claire and I were married for 4 years. No children, no prior separations. On paper, it was a stable home. That changed the day I read the message on her phone. She left it unlocked on the bathroom counter while she showered. The preview said, "Still thinking about your mouth last night. Can't wait for the next time." It was from Aaron, my cousin. He'd been staying in our guest room 1 weekend a month. Said it saved him hotel costs while visiting clients in the area. We hosted him, gave him meals, let him use our laundry. I scrolled. The rest of the thread confirmed it. They'd been sleeping together. This wasn't recent. It had been ongoing. I didn't tell her I saw it. I didn't confront Aaron. I didn't throw anything. I didn't speak. I placed the phone back where it was, then went to the garage and sat in my car for 40 minutes without starting the engine. That night she acted normal, kissed me on the cheek, asked if I wanted to watch a show. I said yes. The next morning I heard her in the hallway. She stood near the security camera and said, "I don't know how much longer I can live like this." She said it into her phone, clearly and calmly. No one else was home. Later that day, she made a call to her mother. I heard part of it through the shared line we hadn't disconnected yet. She said I was emotionally cold, that I made her feel small, that she had started documenting incidents in case she needed to protect herself. It was rehearsed, measured, controlled. That was when I understood. She wasn't just cheating. She was staging something. She was setting up a version of events where she left not because of guilt, but because she claimed I was unsafe. She kept it subtle. No direct accusations, just vague phrases spread out across days. She'd say things like, "That tone again. Why are you looking at me like that? This is what I meant when I said I don't feel safe." I never raised my voice. I never responded. She said these things while the cameras were recording. She made sure of that. She wasn't talking to me. She was building a record for someone else. She started dropping hints to people close to us. She told my mother I hadn't been myself, told my sister I'd become withdrawn, told her own parents that something in our dynamic had shifted. None of it was specific, just enough to plant doubt. Soon, people around me began checking in, not to ask what happened, but to see if I was managing stress. Claire never mentioned the affair. She didn't need to. She made herself look patient, composed, protective of my reputation. That made her more believable. One night I checked the hallway camera logs. She had been standing alone in the entryway, speaking in a low voice about how I was controlling and difficult. She knocked over a lamp in the guest room and shouted my name like I'd been arguing with her. I wasn't home. She called her sister 2 minutes later, told her it happened again. She kept telling people she wanted to make the marriage work, that she was trying, that I was shutting her out. She cried on the phone. She posted vague quotes about healing and silence. She deleted our couple photos from her profile, told friends we were taking space, said it was private, asked for understanding. No one questioned it. I stayed quiet. I didn't explain, didn't defend myself, didn't try to stop her. I just listened, watched, took note of what she said and when. It wasn't hard. Claire never suspected I already knew. 1 week later, she asked me about the family reunion, said she wanted to go, said it would be good to be around safe people. I told her I'd drive. She smiled, said she was glad we were turning a corner. She believed the story was working. That same night, I started preparing something of my own. Not to argue, not to convince, not to plead, just to show what happened. So I wouldn't have to say a word. I met Claire during a municipal contract review. She worked accounts for one of the vendors. I was managing compliance audits. She followed up after the meeting, said she liked how I handled questions. We had coffee a week later. She brought her own pen to sign the receipt, said she didn't like borrowing things. That was the first thing I noticed. She didn't hesitate. She knew what she wanted. Moved toward it directly. We started seeing each other once a week, then twice. By month 4, she left a toothbrush in my cabinet. I didn't ask her to. She just did. She moved in 6 months after that. No pressure, no argument. She framed it as logical. Said she was already paying rent somewhere else and sleeping here half the week. It made sense. Most of what she said always did. Claire was organized, efficient. She tracked dates without reminders and paid bills 3 days early. She called herself low maintenance, said she liked stability. I was the same way. No high drama, no sudden decisions. We had schedules, shared expenses, grocery lists. We got married after a year and a half. I didn't notice the shifts immediately. They weren't loud. She'd correct details in conversations we'd both been part of, change the order of events, leave out her own role, add comments I hadn't made. At first, I thought it was memory, then habit, then style. She called it how I remember it. I didn't challenge it. Aaron came back into the picture 2 years into our marriage. We grew up together. He was 2 years older. We weren't close. He lived 3 hours away, worked in corporate staffing. He sent me a message after finding out I'd gotten married, said he was passing through town and wanted to meet up. We had dinner. He met Claire. They got along easily. He told a lot of stories, talked too much, smiled constantly. Claire said he had good energy, said he was refreshing. I didn't respond to that. A month later, he asked if he could stay over for a weekend, said he had a client nearby. Hotels were expensive. It would just be Friday through Sunday. I agreed. He stayed in the guest room, bought wine, offered to cook. Claire told him he didn't have to do that. He did anyway. After his 3rd visit, I started noticing the way they moved around each other. He offered to help with dishes. She said yes. He complimented her cooking. She said she remembered his preferences. They shared jokes, small ones, but specific. I stayed quiet. One evening I came home early from work. Claire didn't hear me come in. She was on the phone with someone. She said, "No, he doesn't ask questions. He just shuts down." When she saw me, she ended the call without explanation. I didn't ask who it was. She said she was venting. Over time, Aaron's visits became routine. He started leaving things behind, charger cables, toiletries. She'd put them aside like it was normal. He arrived one Friday night when I wasn't expecting him. Claire said she forgot to mention he'd texted her directly. I asked why. She said I'd been hard to talk to lately, and she didn't want to make things worse. That line didn't land like it used to. 3 months before I found the messages, Claire told me she was feeling disconnected. She said I'd changed, that I didn't see her anymore. I asked what she meant. She said it was emotional, not specific, that I'd understand if I tried harder. I didn't try harder. I watched instead. She started suggesting we spend more time apart, that maybe space would be good. I told her that was fine. She went out more, said it was to clear her head. One night she was gone for 3 hours. She said she went to the bookstore, came back with nothing. I didn't question it. 2 weeks later, I came home and found Aaron in our garage. He said he left a jacket and Claire told him to swing by. I looked at him, then looked at her. She said she forgot to let me know. I nodded. That was it. From that point on, I checked everything. She never changed her phone password. She left it open when she showered. I didn't dig. I waited. When I saw the message, it wasn't a surprise. It was confirmation. Aaron said she tasted like strawberries. She said he was the only one who listened to her. They didn't use code. They didn't hide. They assumed I wouldn't see it, or wouldn't act. They were half right. I didn't react. I watched her come out of the bathroom, dry her hair, and ask if I wanted anything from the store. I said no. She kissed me before she left. Later that day, she made a phone call near the hallway camera. She told someone she didn't feel safe. She made sure it was audible. That was when I understood what she was building. Not just an excuse to leave. A full story, carefully shaped, delivered in pieces. One where she could cheat, lie, walk away, and still have everyone on her side. One where I didn't get a voice. That was the mistake she made. After I read the messages, I didn't touch her phone again. I didn't need more evidence. I needed to stay still and let her keep moving. Claire didn't suspect anything. She was careful, but not cautious. She believed I was emotionally detached, so my silence didn't alarm her. That worked in my favor. The pattern shifted quickly. She began dropping short, emotional phrases into otherwise normal moments. That tone again. You always do this. You make me feel small. She said them clearly, often within range of the hallway camera. Then returned to her routine like nothing happened. These weren't emotional outbursts. They were recordings, disguised as conversations. No context. Just isolated sound bites she could replay later. She called her sister one night after I declined to eat dinner. He's stonewalling again. I'm so tired of doing this alone. That word, stonewalling, was deliberate. She didn't use terms like that before. Now she used them often. Psychological language meant to imply abuse without stating it directly. It left room for interpretation, enough to get sympathy, not enough to be questioned. She started telling friends we were going through a communication breakdown. Told her parents I had trouble expressing feelings. Told my mother I'd been acting distant. Each version gave her more control over the narrative. I didn't push back. Pushing would have proved her right. Staying still made her rely more on invention. That helped me see exactly how far she'd go. She picked her moments carefully. Twice she waited until I was in the room and opened her voice recorder. No confrontation, no raised voices. She just asked questions she knew would land flat. Why don't you ever say what you feel? Do you enjoy making me feel like this? Then silence. She let the lack of response do the work. These moments weren't about me. They were designed to sound one-sided. So later, if needed, she could say, I tried. Here's proof. At work, nothing changed. I met deadlines, showed up early, left on time. At home, I kept my movements consistent. Same morning routine, same evening habits. I didn't react to the bait. Didn't flinch when she repeated her accusations in front of the camera. Didn't acknowledge the way she pushed the story forward without ever saying it out loud. She assumed silence meant guilt. In reality, it gave me time. 2 weeks after I saw the texts, she made her first direct accusation. We were in the kitchen. She stood by the sink. I was putting away a pan. I think you enjoy seeing me like this. It's cruel. I looked at her, said nothing, walked out of the room. She followed me. That's what I mean. You punish with silence. You won't touch me. You won't speak to me. It's psychological abuse, Ethan. I'm documenting all of it. That was the moment I realized she already had her exit plan. What she needed now was justification, recorded, structured, and available for playback. I checked with my bank. The joint savings account had 2 recent transfers I hadn't approved. Small amounts. Below the threshold that would trigger alerts. All sent to a second checking account she hadn't mentioned before. I didn't dispute them. I printed the activity and kept the copy in my office drawer. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was preparing for separation, quietly, but intentionally. Aaron stopped showing up, but he stayed in contact. Claire texted him during the day, during dinner, sometimes at night when she thought I was asleep. She turned the phone away from me, put it face down. I never touched it again. There was no need. She was confirming everything I already knew. The people around me started behaving differently. My mother stopped asking how Claire was. My sister changed the subject when I mentioned home. My supervisor at work asked if I needed to adjust my hours. Claire had moved fast. The image she built of me was spreading. I saw it in people's eyes, hesitation, care, distance. No one accused me of anything, but no one asked for my side either. That was when I understood something clearly. If I responded emotionally, I'd lose. If I defended myself, I'd validate her. Silence was the only move that kept the ground still long enough to finish what I was building. 3 days before the family reunion, Claire said this at breakfast. "I've tried everything. If you want me to leave, just say it." I told her I didn't. She paused, waited for more. There wasn't any. She nodded, pushed her plate away, and said she might go for a walk. She went to her mother's house that night, stayed for hours, came back smelling like Aaron's cologne. I didn't mention it, didn't look at her, didn't speak. She paced the bedroom like she wanted a reaction. There wasn't one. That night, I backed up everything I needed and deleted access to shared accounts. The story she'd built was still growing, but she didn't know mine had already been written. The family reunion was scheduled for Saturday, a full-day gathering, outdoors, projector set up for a photo montage after dinner. Claire said we should bring wine, said it might be nice to see people again. She was smiling when she said it, like the narrative had settled in, like she believed everyone already understood her version. I agreed with everything she suggested, said we'd leave early, said I'd drive, told her I'd pack the car. She didn't ask questions. She didn't check anything. She thought the story was already closed. 2 days before, I spoke to my uncle, the one organizing the event. Told him I had something I wanted to share after the slideshow. He asked if it was work-related. I said no. He asked if it was personal. I said it was honest. He didn't press further. I asked for 10 minutes of uninterrupted time. He said he'd give me 15. The projector was already booked. The screen was large, high visibility. Audio wired through basic speakers. I didn't need much. Just still images, timestamps, and clear sound. No effects, no framing. Just what happened. I made sure everything loaded correctly. Tested it twice. No logos, no overlays, no commentary. Just scenes. Each short, each dated. A direct sequence of events anyone could follow. I kept my name out of it. I didn't appear on camera once. Only Claire. In her words, in her movements, in her choices. Claire was still operating under the assumption that I was broken, quiet, withdrawn. Exactly what she described to others. She believed she'd managed the exit cleanly, that Aaron had stepped away just long enough for appearances, that sympathy had already been secured. The day before the event, she told me she was feeling hopeful. I nodded, said it would be good to be around family, said she deserved support. She agreed. The morning of the reunion, she picked her outfit carefully. Muted colors, loose blouse, deliberate softness. She packed her own food, wrote a note to my aunt offering to help with setup. Even added, "Ethan's been doing better," at the end. I read it before she sent it. I didn't reply, just drove. We arrived at 2 p.m. People hugged her first, asked how she'd been, spoke to her with lowered voices and long looks. No one asked me anything. That confirmed the timeline was already accepted. I waited. Ate nothing. Spoke only when spoken to. Stayed near the back of the tent. At 7:15, the photo slideshow ended. A few people clapped. Some wandered off for dessert. I walked to the front. Unannounced, took the microphone. No introduction, just, "I'd like to show something. It'll take a few minutes." No one interrupted. I played the video straight through. First clip, Claire alone, practicing lines, repeating phrases like, "Why are you doing this to me?" To no one. Next, footage of her knocking over a lamp, pausing, then yelling my name, while I was logged in at work 2 miles away. Then, phone calls where she implied threats that never happened. Voice memos about controlling the narrative. Text threads to Aaron, still active, discussing what she would say, how she'd say it, and when. No accusations, no commentary, just what occurred, in sequence. By the time it ended, no one was speaking. Claire stood behind me, frozen, her arms crossed, jaw locked. No movement. I didn't turn to face her. I didn't ask for questions. I didn't explain. I just said, "That's all." Then handed the microphone back and walked away. I didn't stay for reactions. Didn't respond when people started whispering. I walked to the car and waited. Claire didn't follow. 10 minutes later, I saw her parents walking toward their vehicle, alone. Her father looked straight ahead. Her mother was crying. Claire was not with them. She came out 12 minutes after that. Got in, didn't speak, didn't touch her phone. We drove home in silence. She looked out the window the entire time. She didn't sleep in our room that night, didn't speak the next morning. By evening, she was gone. No note, no message, just absence. I didn't call her, didn't report anything, didn't ask who picked her up. She was done performing. The audience had already left. The next morning, I woke up alone. Her side of the bed was untouched, no signs of packing. No goodbye. I didn't check for a message. There wasn't one. By noon, I received a text from her number. "I'll collect the rest of my things later. Please don't be there." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. There was nothing left to negotiate. The first call came from my uncle. He didn't ask questions, just said, "We had no idea." I told him that was the point. He said nothing after that. We ended the call cleanly. By the second day, most people stopped reaching out. Not to ask what happened, not to apologize. Just silence. The same silence Claire had built into her story. Turned around, returned to her. There was no confrontation, just withdrawal. She had controlled the version for too long. When it broke, no one had words for what they'd accepted. Aaron texted me on the third day. It came from a different number. "You didn't have to do that." I didn't respond. He sent another message an hour later. "You made it public. That's on you." Still nothing. After his third attempt, I blocked the number. There was nothing else to discuss. I didn't see Claire again until the courier arrived. She sent someone to collect 2 boxes, shoes, paperwork, a few photos. I left them outside, signed nothing, closed the door. There were no legal threats, no claims, no formal exit documents. She disappeared from the house the same way she disappeared from the story, quickly and without follow-up. 3 weeks passed. I heard from a former coworker of hers. He said Claire had requested extended leave, mentioned family stress, no other details. She was trying to control the fallout, minimize exposure, reframe. But the clip had circulated, quietly, privately. It reached her friends, some coworkers, even one of her relatives who hadn't attended the reunion. No one sent it publicly, but no one stopped it either. That was enough. Aaron left his firm 2 months later. He said it was burnout, but people in the industry stopped taking his calls. His name came up in conversations with silence attached. Someone had shared what happened. No one challenged it. No one defended him. The distance between him and the truth collapsed quickly. He deleted his LinkedIn profile, changed cities. I didn't track where he went. Claire's parents never called me. They didn't return my last message either. All I said was, "I understand if you want distance." They never replied. I considered that closure. There were no court filings, no requests for mediation, no statement from Claire attempting to rewrite anything after the fact. The evidence had done its work. She didn't fight the exposure. She just left it behind. Some people tried to ask what came next. I gave no answers. There was no next, no reconciliation, no rebuilding, no healing. I didn't need to move on. I just needed to remove what never belonged. By month 3, the house was quiet. Bills were automated. Locks were changed. Every trace of her voice was gone. She once said I made the house feel like a museum. She was right. Everything in it stays where it belongs. Nothing lies. Nothing moves. Nothing talks back. By the end of the 4th month, the utilities were in my name only. The joint bank account was closed. The second credit card was deactivated. All automatic withdrawals tied to her email were removed. She didn't contest anything. She didn't ask for access. She didn't return for more belongings. Everything she left behind stayed untouched until I gave it away. There was no ceremony to it, no memory worth preserving. I notified our insurance provider, told them she no longer lived at the address. They removed her from the household records in under 3 minutes. I watched the update go through. No emotion, just confirmation. I canceled our streaming accounts. Every login we once shared was replaced. Nothing tied to her name remained. I didn't do it to punish her. I did it because shared infrastructure isn't neutral. It remembers. I don't keep objects that hold her presence. I don't keep systems that let her linger. I updated my emergency contact form at work, switched from spouse Claire Maris to none. No one asked why. The box was blank the next day. That felt accurate. I never told my parents the full story. They saw enough. My mother didn't ask. My father said only one sentence. "You handled it like someone who'd already let go." I didn't respond. Didn't need to. Claire sent one more message. 6 months after she left. No greeting. No apology. Just, "I hope you're okay. I was overwhelmed. I made mistakes." I read it once, deleted it. She hadn't written that for me. She wrote it for herself, to say she tried. There was nothing left to try. Aaron never reached out again, not to explain, not to deny, not to shift blame. His silence was the only part I respected. I didn't talk about it publicly, didn't tell friends, Didn't explain anything to coworkers who noticed she stopped showing up at events. Most people assumed we drifted apart. That version was fine with me. The truth didn't need new witnesses. It had already played once, clearly, and in order. That was enough. At the start of the following year, I filed to remove her last name from all shared property records. It wasn't a complicated process. No dispute, no delay. One appointment, 2 signatures, a stamped confirmation. The county clerk handed me the paper and said, "You're all set." I nodded and walked out. No reaction, just forward motion. The last trace of her presence in my life was a recurring calendar reminder she had created. Something about winter tires. I deleted it the day I noticed it. That was the final edit. There was nothing else to remove. The house didn't feel empty. It felt clean. No tension, no staged scenes, no performance. Just space. Controlled. Accounted for. That's what peace looks like when it's built instead of borrowed. I don't say her name. Not out of pain, out of principle. There's nothing left to revisit. What needed to be shown was. Once was enough. There are no photos of her in the house, no reminders, no saved messages. When people ask, I say we separated. If they ask why, I say it ended. That's all they need. She doesn't exist in my systems. No shared accounts, no cloud access, no contact history. The places she used to occupy, digitally or physically, have been cleared, not replaced, just cleared. She sent one final message months later, said she was overwhelmed, said she made mistakes. I deleted it without responding. That was for her, not for me. I didn't remarry, didn't move, didn't restart anything. I didn't need to rebuild. I needed removal. That's what I did. What came after wasn't peace. It was the absence of distortion. And that's enough.